Hi, welcome. In this lecture, I'll talk about the git stash command and we'll work on an example as well. So the git stash command looks something like this, git stash. Now the git stash command is used to temporarily store uncommitted work in order to clean out your working directory without having to commit unfinished work on a branch. Sometimes, while working on a part of your project, things can be in a messy state and you might want to switch to a different branch to work on something else. But before moving on to another work, you do not want to commit your unfinished work. Basically, you want to return back to your unfinished work later on. So the solution to this problem is git stash command. By executing the git stash command, you can save your stack of unfinished work that includes modified, tracked files, and staged changes. After you save your dirty state of your working directory, you can retrieve it at any point of time or whenever you need it. So let's get going with an example. So let's check the contents of the directory. So we have the several files over here and I have created this demo stash repository for you. This is a fresh new repository, and if you check the git log -- one line, you can see a single commit over here. So let's modify the file index.html. Vim index.html, and we'll make a simple change. We'll add the title here, stash demo. So demo is short form for demonstration. So let's quit the editor. We'll save our changes and we are back to the terminal. So let's think of this scenario that I was working on this file index.html and now my boss has asked me to work on a certain fix immediately. So I need to save off my unfinished work, and for this git stash command will become very handy. So the command is git stash, and optionally you can use the save, but this is not required if you don't provide any argument to the save command. We'll not be providing any argument to the save subcommand here, so we'll simply use git stash. Press enter and you can see the git says that it has saved the working directory and the index state WIP on master. So WIP stands for work in progress. Now whenever you execute the git stash command, a stash is created which you can view using git stash list. So git stash list shows you what was the stash that was involved over here. So you can see the stash is created over here, and the first stash is identified as stash at then curly braces 0 and then the closing curly braces, and there is a simple description over here. So this syntax is somewhat like the reflog syntax which you learned earlier. And now if I try to view the file index.html, you can see that our file has returned back to the original one, and the title modification which we did few moments ago is no more there because git has stashed or saved off our unfinished work. So let's quit the editor, and now you can see our working directory status has also changed after execution of the git stash command. So earlier there was change to the index.html and the star symbol shows there was a modification state, and now after execution of the stash command you can see there is no symbol over here, which means a clean working directory. And of course if you want you can execute the git status command as well, and git status will say that working directory is clean. And now that I have saved my unfinished work, I can switch back to the immediate task on hand. So I'll create a branch using git checkout -b and name the branch as hotfix. Press enter, and let's say the fix need to be done on the file humans.txt. So I'll do a simple fix over here. So let's assume that this is a fix. So I add my name over here, and that's it. We'll save and quit, and we'll do an express commit over here, git commit -am, and the commit message is also a simple one. So fixed humans.txt will add just one index. So assuming this is our first fix for our humans.txt file, press enter, and the commit is done. Now that our fix is done, we'll switch back to master using git checkout master. Press enter, and we have switched back to the master branch. So let's clear the screen, and I will not resume working on index.html file on which I was working earlier. Instead, I'll start working on 404.html. So I'll make a simple edit. So let's assume that we are changing this line height, and from 1.2 I'll change it to 1.3. So I'll quit and save. Now let's consider the scenario that I need to switch back to hotfix branch to work on another immediately pressing issue. So I need to save my unfinished work once again. So in order to save my unfinished work, this time too I will execute the git stash command, but this time I will in addition use the save subcommand with an message, and this message will help us to identify our stash. So our message is modified line dimension, and the file is 404.html. Press enter. Now let's check our stash list using git stash list. Press enter, and here you can see another entry is in the stash list. So here it is much more easier to identify our stash because I have added this message modified line dimension 404.html. Now here is an important thing that you should notice is that the stash is listed in the reverse order. So the most current stash has an index 0 and the earliest stash is index 1. So basically there is a reverse order of display of stash. So now that we have saved our stash, I'll switch back to the hotfix branch using git checkout hotfix. Press enter, and again I'll modify the humans.txt. So let's pretend this is another fix, and I'll simply add the name here. So the name is Whitepick Software Team. So we are done with our fix, and let's save and quit. We'll do an express commit retrieving an earlier commit message. So this is fix 2. So we'll modify this commit message, press enter, and we are done. So we'll switch back to master again using git checkout master. Let's clear the screen. Now I'll not immediately start working on index.html and 404.html. Rather, I'll start working on another file. So this time I'll start working on the file browserconfig.xml. Press enter, and I'll make a very simple change. So I'll modify the name of the file from tile.png to tile1.png. So this is our simple modification. We'll quit and save. And this time we'll also add our changes to the staging area. So git add browserconfig.html. So we have done some work on the file browserconfig.xml, and let's think of the scenario that we need to switch back to hotfix branch once again, and in order to do that we need to save off our unfinished work. So we'll execute the git stash command once again, git stash, and this time too we'll use the save subcommand, and we'll have a stash message, and our message is modified image 1, and the file was browserconfig.xml. So browser quotes close, press enter, and our stash is done. And let's check our stash once again before we switch back to hotfix branch, git stash list, and you can see our latest stash is on browserconfig.xml, easily identified by the message that I added while creating the stash. So let's switch back to hotfix branch using git checkout hotfix, press enter, and we'll again have a fix on the humans.txt, vim humans.txt, and this time our simple fix is we'll add a role. So these are very small things just for the demonstration purpose. Let's assume these are very important fixes. So the role is software development, and that's the fix. We'll quit and save, and we'll do an express commit. We'll retrieve an earlier commit message, and this is fix 3. Press enter and the commit is done. Now that we have done our fix, we'll switch back to master branch using git checkout master. Press enter. Let's clear the screen. So we have created so far 3 stashes, and each of the stash corresponds to a single file. Now we can identify this stash is related to browserconfig.xml. This stash is related to 404.html, but we are not really sure that which file belongs to this stash. So there is a way out. We can do git stash show, and then we can copy this index stash at 2, and we'll just paste it here and press enter, and here you go. You can easily identify that this stash belongs to index.html. Now the reason why we are not able to identify which file belongs to this stash is because of the fact that while creating this stash, we did not use the save subcommand with a stash message. Now so far we have been working with all the 3 files that were tracked ones. Now what about working with a untracked file? So let's create a file, new file .txt, press enter, and we'll just add a very simple line. So this is a new file. Press escape key and save and quit. Now since this is an untracked file, we are not able to see any change in the custom bash prompt as well. But if we do a git status, you can see git says that there is a untracked file over here. Now let's again think of the scenario that we need to switch back to our hotfix branch once again, and in order to do that we need to save our unfinished work on new file.txt. So let's do that using git stash. Press enter, and here you go. It says no local changes to save. Now the reason is, if we execute the git stash command, it works by default on tracked files. If you want to stash away a untracked file, then you need to execute the command git stash with the U option. So let's do that. Press enter, and here you go. This time you can see that we could save our unfinished work on the new file.txt. Let's clear the screen, and let's now do a git stash list once again. Press enter, and now we have 4 stash. Now this is our latest stash, and as you know, our git stash list will display stash in the reverse order with the latest stash on the top. Now we saved our unfinished work in order to do another fix in the hotfix branch. So let's do git checkout hotfix, press enter. This time too also will do a fix on the file humans.txt. Press I key to insert, and this time we'll add the Twitter handle. Let's assume that this is also a important fix we are doing to this file. So this time our fix is adding the Twitter handle to this file human.txt. So the Twitter handle is whitepigsoft, and we are done with our fix. We'll save and quit, and we'll do an express commit by retrieving an earlier commit message. So this is our 4th fix, and we'll modify the earlier commit message appropriately. Let's press enter, and we are done. So let's switch back to master that we are done with our fix. Press enter. Let's clear the screen. So I'll stop this video here, and I'll continue working on this example in the subsequent lecture.